In 1764, a single mother in London was arrested for a crime that should have been impossible. She had been printing perfect British banknotes in her tiny basement, alone. With no training, no expensive equipment, just clever hands and desperate need. For 3 years, she flooded England with fake money, thousands of pounds, and nobody caught her because nobody suspected a poor seamstress could be that brilliant. Her name was Mary Butterworth, and she became the most successful counterfeiter in British history without ever getting convicted. The year is 1761. The place is Southwark, a poor district in London, England. Mary Butterworth is 32 years old, a widow. Her husband died 2 years ago, leaving her with 3 young children and mountains of debt. She works as a seamstress, sewing clothes for wealthy families. The work is endless. Her fingers bleed from needle pricks. Her eyes strain in candlelight. She works 16 hours a day, 7 days a week, and she still cannot afford to feed her children properly. England in the 1760s is brutal for poor women. There is no welfare, no government help. If you cannot pay your debts, you go to debtor's prison. Your children go to orphanages or workhouses, where many die from disease and starvation. Mary is facing this reality. Her landlord is threatening eviction. Creditors are demanding payment. She is 3 months behind on everything. One night, exhausted and desperate, Mary examines a £5 banknote. £5 is more than she earns in 2 months of sewing. The note is printed on quality paper with intricate designs. But as a seamstress who works with fabrics and patterns, Mary sees something others don't. She sees that the design is just ink on paper, and if it's just ink on paper, it can be copied. She studies the note for hours. The scroll work, the signature, the serial numbers, the watermark. Then she gets an idea. A dangerous, brilliant idea. What if she could make these notes herself? Mary knows this is a hanging offense. Counterfeiting is considered treason in England. If caught, she will be executed publicly. Mary decides to try, but she is smart. She will not use traditional counterfeiting methods that authorities know how to detect. She will invent her own method, something nobody has seen before. Mary cannot afford printing plates. Professional counterfeiters use metal plates engraved with the banknote design. These plates cost a fortune and require skilled engravers. Mary has no money and no engraving skills, so she invents something different. She discovers a method using starched muslin cloth, the kind she works with as a seamstress. She places the muslin over a real banknote. Then she carefully traces the design onto the muslin using a hot iron and special ink. The heat transfers the design from the real note onto the muslin. Now she has a stencil. She places the muslin stencil over blank paper. She carefully inks the design through the muslin onto the paper below. When she lifts the muslin, a perfect copy of the banknote appears on the paper. The genius of this method is that it leaves no evidence. The muslin can be washed clean immediately, no metal plates to hide, no engraving tools to explain. Just regular sewing materials a seamstress would naturally own. Mary tests her method. The first attempts fail. The ink bleeds. The designs blur. The paper wrinkles. But Mary is patient. She experiments for months. She tries different inks, different pressures, different papers. Finally, she creates a note that looks perfect. She takes it to a market and buys bread with it. The baker accepts it without question. Mary realizes she has done it. She has created undetectable counterfeit money using a method nobody knows about. Over the next 3 years, Mary prints hundreds of banknotes. She is careful. Never too many at once. Never in the same location. She spreads them across different towns and cities. She pays her debts, feeds her children, buys better clothes so she looks respectable. She even hires other seamstresses to work for her, creating a legitimate business. As cover, Mary is getting rich, and nobody suspects the quiet widow running a small sewing shop. But Mary makes one critical mistake. She gets greedy. By 1764, the Bank of England notices a problem. Too many perfect £5 notes are circulating in London and surrounding areas. These notes pass every test. The paper feels right. The ink looks correct. The designs are flawless, but the serial numbers are duplicated. The same numbers appear on multiple notes. This means counterfeits. The bank hires investigators. They start tracking where the fake notes appear. They interview merchants, bankers, shopkeepers. A pattern emerges. Most of the fake notes appear in markets and shops in South London, Southwark area specifically. The investigators focus their search. They question hundreds of people. Who has been spending a lot of money recently? Who has suddenly become wealthier? Several names come up, but one name appears multiple times. Mary Butterworth, the seamstress. People remember her because she went from desperately poor to comfortably middle class. In just 3 years, She paid off massive debts, expanded her business, started dressing better. When asked how she earned so much money, Mary always says the same thing. Her sewing business is doing very well. Wealthy clients, good contracts. This seems believable. Seamstresses can make decent money if they have rich clients. But investigators are suspicious. They start watching Mary. They follow her. They note when she goes shopping, what she buys, how she pays. Then they get a break. A shopkeeper who accepted a note from Mary later discovers it is counterfeit. He reports it immediately. Now investigators have direct evidence linking Mary to fake notes. They obtain a warrant and raid her home and shop. They search everything. Her basement, her sewing room, her bedroom. They are looking for printing plates, engraving tools, stacks of fake notes. They find nothing. No plates, no suspicious equipment, just normal sewing materials, needles, thread, fabric, irons, muslin cloth. Everything a seamstress should have. But they find one thing that makes them certain. Mary is guilty. In a locked drawer, they find 70 pounds in cash. This is a massive amount for a seamstress to have saved. Mary claims she saved it from her business over 3 years, but investigators don't believe her. They arrest Mary anyway. They are certain she is the counterfeiter. They just cannot figure out how she did it. Mary Butterworth is put on trial at the Old Bailey Court in London in August 1764. The prosecution presents their evidence: the duplicate serial numbers, the fake notes traced to Mary, the sudden wealth, the suspicious amount of cash. But they have a problem. They have no physical evidence of how Mary created the counterfeits. In English law, you need to prove not just that someone committed a crime, but how they committed it, especially for a serious crime like counterfeiting. The prosecution brings in expert engravers. They testify that making such perfect counterfeits requires metal plates and professional skill. Mary's defense lawyer argues
If Mary
brilliantly.
was a counterfeiter, where are her tools? Where are the plates? Where is the evidence? Mary may have received the fake notes innocently, not knowing they were counterfeit. Perhaps a customer paid her with fake money, and she spent it without realizing.
This creates reasonable doubt. The prosecution knows Mary is guilty. The investigators know she did it, but they cannot prove how. Mary stays silent. She does not testify. She does not explain anything. She just sits quietly, looking like a respectable widow and mother. The jury deliberates for 2 days. They are divided. Some believe she is guilty. Others think the evidence is too weak. In English law, a conviction requires a unanimous verdict. The jury cannot agree. Finally, the judge declares a mistrial. Mary is released. She walks out of the Old Bailey a free woman. The Bank of England is furious. They know she did it, but they cannot retry her for the same crime. English law prohibits it. Mary has won. But here is what makes this story even more remarkable. After the trial, Mary stops counterfeiting completely. She takes her saved money and runs her sewing business legitimately. She raises her children. This is Ancient Crime Story. If brilliant criminals and unsolved mysteries fascinate you, subscribe and turn on notifications for more stories like this. Because sometimes the most dangerous criminals are not the violent ones or the powerful ones. Sometimes they are the desperate ones with nothing to lose and everything to prove. Mary Butterworth proved that genius does not need money or education. Sometimes it just needs necessity.